Well, hello there. Welcome to Unapologetically Kelly. This is the very first episode, honey. It took me forever to get here simply because I'm a person that stays in her mind all the time. I'm trying to get the microphones, I'm trying to get the backdrop. I wanted to do it that way. It was like I was procrastinating, and that has been something that I've been dealing with and also working on over the years. But I'm here now. So I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I wanted to allow you to understand who you are listening to, who you are spending your time with in these moments of these episodes that I plan on doing. So the very first episode I wanted to make intimate, very private, strictly about me and a lot about my background. And not only will this just be for me, I'm sure it'll be for somebody else because I know that I'm not the only one who has experienced this and or went through it. But I'm working through it and I'm gonna get through it and I'm gonna heal from it. What I'm saying. So I just want you to understand who you're listening to, and here we go. So from the age of 3 up until 18, I was in the projects. I was not born, but I lived in the projects. And I had I have 2 younger siblings. I'm the oldest, so the oldest always has the most responsibilities. Keep that in mind. So I usually just, as a kid, I would just play. I used to love playing with dolls and tea parties and all that. I was a girly girl. Up until my teenage years, I turned into a little tomboy. I don't know what this is about, but I'm not. I'm a girly girl now. Okay, I'm a girly girl. So I love to dress up and do all the other stuff now. Okay. So from the age of 8 up until 18, of course, I was living with my mother. I grew up in a broken home, as most of us have, and I now understand why my father was not present. I can't fully give him a pass, but I can understand why he was not in the same household as my mother. And I'll get into that story moving forward. My mother she passed away in 2018. I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but in order to tell my story and share my experience, I have to speak of this because not only is it going to touch somebody else, but it's going to also be something that's therapeutic for me. Her birthday just passed on the 1st, and her death date will be coming up on the 23rd. So I struggle every year. Okay, so let's get into it. Coming up, I can remember little bits of chunks, right? As a little girl, from maybe 3 to 5. 5 on up, I can remember everything. Okay, I remember being locked in closets, dark closets, couch put on the door, and the project doors were very hard to open. They're very heavy. I remember being verbally abused. You're not you. I've heard it all. I've heard it all. Right? To this day, the shit still sticks with me. So that's why, as the woman that I am now, I don't tolerate nobody speaking to me and telling me something that I don't like. You're not gonna talk to me any kind of way. That's why I move like that, because I've dealt with that from her. And I just couldn't understand. Like, I knew that she loved me, right? But I don't think she liked me. I think that either there was a form of jealousy, or she saw my dad in me, because sometimes that happens. But I have her face. So I don't know, like, it's crazy because I wanted my own daughter because I wanted her to look like me, but I ended up with 3 boys, and that's okay. I do know that I got pregnant at a young age. I know that was very difficult for a mother to kind of go through. Because, baby, you a baby having a baby. That's difficult all by itself. However, I was blessed to finish high school on time. I graduated when I was 17. Did not go to college right away, baby. I was quite done with school, okay? But I kept working. I've been working since I was 12, nonstop, unless I had to go on maternity leave to have a baby. And after those 6 weeks, I'm right back to work, okay? I feel like my mom really, like I said, she loved me, but she didn't like me. And maybe she saw something. Sometimes people can see certain things in you and they don't like it, because it's like a light that's within you, right? And I've always had a support system, always. No matter how much she broke me down, no matter how much she made me feel the worst of myself, I always had somebody there. So it was mainly the boy's dad, and that's why I probably hold him really close to my heart. because he was there during so many difficult times in my life. Not only him, his mom, his sister, another one of his aunties, and one of his cousins. Two of his cousins, I'm sorry. So they are literally, when I say family, they are my family. I can't make this up. Coming up 15, having a baby was difficult for me. I didn't know what was going on, what was up, what was down. She watched him while I went to school, and I thank her. Nobody knows how much I thank her. I thank her and I love her for that. She didn't have to, but I think my son for her was a do-over for her. She got to do everything she wanted to do and see, and she saw everything through him. That's her heart. Now, my other two kids, no. She treated my middle son and my oldest son completely different. And I want to say it's because my middle son looks like his dad. That's what I'm saying. And my baby, really, she held him when he was maybe 6, 7 months. And then after that, she didn't see him anymore. She didn't see him until we went to go visit her in the hospital. I made a decision to keep that form of toxicity away from my children. Now, by that time, my oldest son was what? 16, 17, 15, 16, 17, one of those years. And you're almost grown, son. Go ahead. Ain't nothing I can do. But these other ones, I'm gonna keep them away from her because I don't like how she moves as a person, and or a mother. She would tell my oldest son things that she shouldn't tell a kid. A kid shouldn't know certain. That's what's wrong with people. Kids should not know certain things. Get it? I got it. Eventually life happens and, things gonna happen. But as a kid should stay in the kid place, and that's what I'm really saying. So he never really was in the kid place unless he was in my household. Sure, but in that household, he's seen a lot. In her household, he's seen a lot, heard a lot, and he should not have known. Because he would come back home and tell me, Mom, my grandma said, and he'll say whatever she said. And I'm like, how do you know that? And that's not true, But anywho, I digress. As I got a little older and I got my own apartment, thank God, and I moved out at 18. I flew and I never came back. I wanted to make sure that I never came back, okay? Because the way that I came up in that household, I just couldn't understand. And I know I was angry, oh God, to the point of where I would black out and be so angry and so just frustrated with life. And then I can't talk to my mom. And if I talk to her about something, she's going to run and tell my business, and I think you should, as a mother, you should have that safety net, that protection. And it's like everything that she wasn't, I turned into, you know what I mean? Like I'm the safety net for everybody. I'm the nurturer for everybody. I'm the person that loves everybody I'm that person. Everything that she wasn't, I wanted to make sure that I never turned out like that. Okay. So what I'm saying is that I really took the time to, in this present moment right now, to work on myself. And I am in therapy because there were things that happened to me while I was younger. I just couldn't seem to understand. How could you allow a man to touch me, and I touch on me, fondle me, and molest me, and I bring it to you and you don't say anything. You let it go. That hurt me to my core. And I couldn't understand, like, everything in my soul. If my child was to come to me and tell me, anybody touched on you, I got a problem. I never felt protected. I never felt that love. And I promise you, coming up, I would find women in my life and I would flock to them because they had that nurturing love and care and protection that I didn't get at home. So the very, very, very first person that gave me that was an old friend of mine, her mom. I suck at, I really suck at keeping in touch. I do love her. But she was my very first, I call her Kat. My very, very, very first influence in my life as a mother figure for me. And I hold her close to my heart. I don't keep in touch. I'm charged to my man, not my heart, I promise. but I love her to this day. Okay. She showed me a lot. She showed me a lot. Like I didn't learn anything about my periods from my mom. I learned that from her. I didn't know what a pad was. I learned everything that I felt like I was supposed to be taught by my mother. I wasn't. Now, probably like how to fry chicken and pick greens, sure. You know, those little bitty things, sure. But when it came down to like survival skills, I didn't get that. My dad would pop in and out of my life. He would come see me. I don't know what happened and what transpired with their relationship, why they were not eye to eye, but I can understand why. However, I met my dad, and I'm still like working through that anger because it was like, why would you leave me there with that lady and you knew what she was about, but you left me there. You left me there. And I'm still mad at him. I promise. And I'm more mad at my mother than I am at my father. But you left me there to try to just sit with that. That was torture for me coming up. I promise you it was. However, after dealing with her, I understand why. I probably would have ran away and never returned to. I promise you. Now, when I became an adult, relationship was completely different. I know for my prom, he took me to go get my material for my dress, and everything. I know for even when he was on his deathbed, I made sure that I went to go see him in the hospital. I'm grateful for my auntie, and she came and got me, and he was at the hospital up the street from me, and I went to go see him. But you know, I'm still mad. I can't get answers from him because he's gone. Can't get answers from my mother. She's gone. So I'm in this point. At this point in time, I'm in the motions of learning how to let it go. And I'm struggling with that. I'm trying to figure out how to let certain things go. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to navigate this? And I'm working on the little girl in me, because the little girl in me kept having tantrums. Like I would wonder why, but I didn't learn it until I got like in therapy. And I would wonder why certain things was just like upset me. It really wasn't the adult me. It was a little girl in me that was just like, we're not going for that. Ain't nobody gonna treat you like this. I'm finna fight, you know? So that's pretty much where that was. So the little girl in me was having a fit. And she wanted that love. She wanted that care. So I'm in a place now where I am giving her that. I'm loving on the little girl in me. And I'm also setting proper boundaries for myself. I'm also learning how to really love on myself, because that verbal abuse will tear you up. I honestly feel like the verbal abuse is a little bit worse than the physical abuse, and that's just my opinion. Those physical scars can actually heal, but you'll still have some parts of it that's where you're iffy. But those verbal abuses, those words like that, like words stick with you for a long time. Sometimes you just can't really shake some of that stuff that was said to you and or done to you either. Now we're going to go back into the story of my mother with her. We're going to go into 2018. 2018, she got sick. Her bowels were somehow tangled up or something because she was not really using the restroom right. And she's just one of them. She was one of those people, you know how old folks are. They are stuck in their ways and they will not go to the hospital. It's like, whatever I got, baby, I got, and I'm going to go ahead to glory with it. That is how they move. So they somehow made her go to the hospital, and they found out that her bowels were tangled and she needed emergency surgery. So they had to cut her from, at least from right here, all the way through her to her stomach, all the way through the abdomen, everything, and to untangle her bowels. Come to find out, it was colon cancer. And because my mom lost a tremendous amount of weight. She lost a lot of weight. She was a good maybe 80 pounds soaking wet, give or take. And with her having that surgery, that was a lot for me because I was terrified to really have her under the knife. Although she mistreated me, and she mistreated me well, I will never wish harm on nobody because that's the heart that I have. I can't speak for nobody else. So she has a surgery and it was successful. And then we find out that she has the, I think it's atrial fibrillation, regular heartbeat. okay, here goes something else, you know. So now I'm scared again, but they can give you medicine for that. And they were going to cut her open again to do something else. And I was like, no, she is, I think at the time she was 60 something. I can't remember the exact age, but I know she was in her 60s. And so I was like, she don't need to keep being cut on, you know. That's a little too much. Just give her the meds. So they were prepping her and they put her in a nursing home. So I was like, well, she shouldn't have to be in a nursing home. I'll take a little time off. So I took a month off, but the process for that for me was a little too long. And I'm like, okay, well, I still got bills to pay. I can't, you know, because I was going to just have her come here, or she can go home and I'll just make sure I take care of her over there. Because we stay right by each other. I'm right here and she's like right there. So it wasn't like I had to go far. So I was going to do that, but that didn't work out too well. So in the hospital, so I would go see her in a nursing home. When I get off work, she was in a nursing home on 35th. So I would go see her there, and I would take her something to eat or whatever the case may be. I'll just go sit with her for a little bit. She seemed to be in kind of like high hopes, but she wanted to get the fuck up out of there. She was sick and tired and sick of being in that nursing home. So I was like, okay, cool. We're going to try to see if we can get you home. So that's what made me say, okay, I'm going to try to be your nurse. Okay. Or some type of private care, whatever it is, I'm going to do it. Because I don't trust everybody. Okay. Now, with that being said, I went to go see her one day and her ankle was swollen. And I'm like, your ankle shouldn't be that swollen. And why hasn't nobody reported this? Why ain't nobody called? Why are you not at a doctor? You know, because she was supposed to have went to a doctor's appointment that day, and I wanted to make sure that I went with her. So we didn't get to the doctor appointment. We went to the emergency room. With us going to the emergency room, they found out that there was a vessel or something that had bust in her leg or something, and that caused it to swell or something like that. And so she's in a hospital, and we are just trying to figure out what's going on. And so with that being said, maybe like 2 days later to be exact, she was sitting in the room, and I was like, okay, well, what's going on? Like we've been in here, nobody's giving us any answers. They was like, okay, well, she may need another surgery, but with this surgery, it's very risky, because with her being as brittle as and as small as she is and elderly, she can possibly pass away during the surgery, or the surgery can go successful. You have a choice as the power of attorney, because I became the power of attorney the first time we went to the hospital. You have a choice to figure out if you want her to have the surgery or not. Or we can give her some medicine, because she was in pain. Certain parts of whatever transpired and happened, I have no idea, but certain parts of her body, like her organs, were beginning to shut down. Literally. So even with having that surgery and you're having other body organs shut down, you still not gonna make it. There's a possibility that you still won't make it, because you need your kidneys. You may be on dialysis for the rest of your life. You may be, whatever it may be, it wasn't something that was good. So I talked it over with my stepdad at the time, and my little brothers, and they was like, it's your call. Everybody told me, hey, you make the choice. Do you understand how difficult it is to play God? I don't wish that on nobody. That was so difficult for me to play God. Okay? And I decided to just give her some medicine and allow her to pass away in her sleep. So with that being said, I tried my best to deal with everything. Everybody came to see her and stuff like that. But she was still conscious and stuff like that, and still mistreating me, by the way. Still mistreating me. So I had to walk away. The hospital was right by my house, so I would walk through the park and just come back and just cry, because it was like, God, I can't take it. And so with that being said, I went back, because that's who I am. I went back, and I knew in that present moment she didn't have nobody else. Nobody else was built for that specific thing like I was. Nobody, not my siblings, and definitely not my stepdad. Nobody else. Her siblings, I think 2 of her siblings came to see her. But nobody else was really built like that. And I understood that in that moment, and that's why I had to go back. And also, I had to have a conversation with the boy's dad, my boy's dad, and he was like, "Hey, you gotta go back." And I was like, "I'm done, I'm done, I'm done." You know, one thing about me when I'm angry, I'm hysterical. I'm hysterical. Don't talk to me when I'm angry, baby. I'm a mess. Okay. So back to the story. So that I began to register for school. The 23rd is the day she passed away. I registered for school the 22nd. Oh, while this was happening. And it was a medical administrative assistant. And because they were telling me medical terms, and I'm like, what is an atrial fibrillation? What is that? You know, they were telling me stuff, and I have to Google it because I just don't like asking people there, because it's like in the hospital, because it's like, hey, you know, I don't know these terms. Break them down to me so I can understand it in my language. Don't tell me this medical term, because I don't care about the medical term. I care about what it is exactly, and I don't care about the medication. I care about what this medication is supposed to do. So that's what made me get in school, because I got tired of asking. And also, my dad wanted me to become a nurse, and I was like, Daddy, I can't do no blood now. And he's like, there's many different things to do in school. So my dad was the first inspiration. My mom became the second. So I had started school on the 24th. My mom passed away on the 23rd. I was in that room alone with her. They had her connected to I'm finding her. They had her connected to, so they had 2 heart monitors in the room, right? So they took the big heart monitor out and gave her the smaller one. So all that night, the 23rd, I could not sleep. I couldn't sleep. I could not sleep, okay? I went in the bathroom, took a shower, walked over to my mom, and I was like, it's going to be okay. Because they were going to let her go on hospice, because that's how bad it was, to just keep giving her medication to come home because her organs had shut down. So I couldn't really sleep. I took my shower, came back out, and walked over to my mom, like, oh, it's okay. It's all right. Just like that. So I lay down, I'm like, why can't I? Something's, you know, like in your stomach, you can feel something is happening. And God, I don't know what it is, but something's happening, right? Now, mind you, she had visitors that day, all that day, because she was getting out the hospital, getting ready to come home to my house the next day. They had the oxygen tank here, the bed here, everything was at my house. Okay. So I'm like, I'm so uneasy. I can't rest, God. What is this about? So I get up and I can see the heart monitor. The rate and the beats and everything, what those 2 things, I can't think of it right now because I'm telling the story, but those 2 things kept decreasing. I'm like, oh my God, it's about to happen. So she's going to die in this hospital. And I'm going to be the only person in this room with her, you know? So, like I said, everybody left that day. And I don't know, maybe she waited until we had that moment together, you know? I don't know. Maybe it was God. I don't know. And the nurse came in here and she's like, well, like, okay, Miss Jones, you don't have long to go. The rate and the beats are slowing down. I said, I know. And I think I posted something on social media. And with me posting, I'm like, I wish somebody was right here with me. Because I was just going through it. Because it was like to watch somebody, like, because it's one thing to know that you're gonna go. But to be in that moment presently, to see that machine consistently drop until there's a flat line, I don't wish that on a soul. That is like etched and sketched in my brain right now to see that, right? And so in that moment, that defined who I was for me. That for me, that meant, okay, I was meant to be here in that moment. I was meant to have that experience because nobody else could have endured that. Nobody else. And that was my last moment with my mom. And so we called the priest in, and of course he prayed over her, and her body started to get cold and stuff like that. And so nobody was available. This was like at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember, but I know it was in the middle of the night. And nobody was available. That's how I know that it was meant for me to experience that. Nobody was available, right? And with nobody being available, I called the boy's dad. Because if I couldn't get through to nobody else, I know he outside. I said, my mama just passed away. He was like, what? I said, my mama just passed. And I'm bawling, but he understood what I said. I'm crying. So he rushes to the hospital, gets up there to the hospital. And around this time, his grandmother had passed away. So I think his grandmother passed away a little before my mom had passed. Maybe, I want to say the beginning of September or something like that. Somewhere in September, I want to say. So he was still mourning over his grandmother, right? And I called him about this, and I felt bad, you know. So I'm crying hysterically, you know. But then it was like, okay, it was meant for me to experience that in that moment, to be by myself, because you never know how strong you are until you are in a situation to know how strong you are. Shit. And I'm thankful for the situation. I don't like how it happened, but I had to call the people and tell them, hey, you got to come and get this oxygen tank, got to come get this bed. She passed away. So on the 24th is when I started school. I started school straight through. I did not stop. Now, I did take 2 grieving counseling sessions. That didn't do much for me. I promise you it didn't. Because I really didn't get down to the nitty-gritty of everything, of what I needed to tackle like I am tackling now. So I got down to the nitty-gritty of everything now. But I started school straight through. I had a 3.90 GPA. And that was during the pandemic, so I didn't really even get a graduation or anything like that. But I did that for myself. I wanted to do that for myself. Because in high school, oh baby, I was an average student. I kept me some C's. I ain't gonna lie to you. I kept me some C's. I wanted to show myself that I can do it. So I was on the honor roll. I was in like this little society thing and all of this good stuff. But I said all of that to say that God is good. And although my story was my story, it could have been worse. What if my dad would have really came and got me, you know? And who's to say? I would have ended up back with her anyway because he passed away before her. Or I would have went to another family member. But chances are, I would have ended up back with her. But I was legally 18 at that time, so probably not. I would have ended up taking his apartment. But there's no telling how things work. And you don't get to write your own story majority of the time when it comes to like little shit like that. You just you learn how to experience certain things and get through it. And that's what I'm on in this present moment. And all I want to leave you with, and I want to really honestly say, I just want to thank you all kindly from the bottom of my heart for taking time out to listen, to even understand. I promise you the next episode will not be as emotional. I promise. I'm a little crybaby, but that's still because that's a soft topic for me.